Thank you for coming. It's a very difficult day yesterday, and it will be again today. I'm with John Munkin, who's our director of the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, and Patricia Kemp, who's with the Red Cross. And I'm going to be going today to Washington, and then to Diamond and Coal City, on to Gifford, then to Brookport, and ultimately to New Minden. And each of these communities in Illinois were hard hit yesterday by the deadliest tornadoes that we've ever had in the month of November in Illinois history. And it is important that we see ourselves as a family, that we come together when something very dangerous and difficult and deadly happens to the people. We're all in this together, and our state government is going to respond with every asset we have to make sure that these communities and the people in them are able to recover. We ask God to bless the immortal souls of the 6 people who were killed yesterday by these tornadoes across our state. The estimates by the Weather Service are going to be probably between 20 and 30 different tornadoes occurred across Illinois. It's inspiring to see how people came together in their communities to help each other, help their neighbor. Young and old, people came together to make sure that folks were safe and were brought to safety. It is important that now that we continue our search and rescue. If there are any victims that are still in harm's way, our state police are on the scene along with local law enforcement, but we are beginning the whole process of recovery. And last year we had, at the beginning of the year, a very deadly tornado in Harrisburg, Illinois. We responded to that. I was recently in Harrisburg with the people who were part of that recovery, and we're going to do the same and more with the communities that are affected here by these tornadoes yesterday. It is important that everyone who has been affected by the tornado try to keep as good a record as they can of everything that they've lost. In many cases, a home is totally destroyed. We need to make sure that we keep those records, because having declared a state disaster declaration this morning when we filed it with the Secretary of State, the next step for all of us across Illinois is to have an initial assessment of damage. And it is important that our families and our businesses make, as best they can, given these difficult circumstances, a full record of what has been lost. This is very, very important, because in so doing, we ultimately go to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, where they do a full assessment with the records that we provide them. And our hope to get a federal disaster declaration really rides on our ability to get all information regarding damage and destruction that occurred yesterday. So we have been through this before. It is very, very important that we work together with our local mayors, with people in local government, with local law enforcement. Our state has brought to each of the sites assets, whether it's the Illinois Department of Transportation, our state police, our communications, as well as lighting in some cases. So we want to help each other. That's really, I think, the spirit of Illinois. It is important that we see ourselves as a family of 13 million people, and everyone in Illinois wants to help the victims of these deadly tornadoes that created so much destruction yesterday. We want to work together to recover fully. I'm now going to ask John Munkin to come forward and say a few words. John, take it from there.
Thank you, Governor. As the Governor mentioned, obviously this was an unprecedented event for us, especially in the month of November, and the impacts are so significant that it will take time to be able to sift through it. Yesterday was all focused on life safety. We continue that mission today because it happened late enough in the day and darkness fell early enough. It hampered some of our search and rescue efforts at the end of the day yesterday, so we will continue that process today, and then we will begin the long process of doing that damage assessment and digging people out, making sure that we can get all the debris that's cleared out. It generated an incredible amount of debris in each of these communities, and the right path to recovery is making sure that we can clean that up. So we'll initiate that process this morning. It's already underway, and it's very important, as the Governor mentioned, to get all of that information out about the initial damage assessment. So we strongly encourage everybody to report that information to your local public safety, including law enforcement and emergency management, so they have that information available. They will be providing that to us as part of the state roll-up for that information so that we can in turn provide that to FEMA and make sure that we can get everybody the assistance that they need. So we certainly encourage everyone to stay where you are at this point. Make sure that you can do what you need to do at your individual homes. And anybody that's interested in helping out in the communities, we actually encourage you to stay at home right now. Don't go to the affected areas right now because that could create more of an issue than a solution to the problems that we're facing. Focus on the great organizations like the ones represented with us here today, like the Red Cross, and make sure that they get the support that they need to do what they need to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. And Patricia, why don't you come forward on behalf of the Red Cross and speak about efforts there?
So our volunteers and staff have been working around the clock to bring relief and comfort to the families affected by the tornadoes. We've opened multiple shelters and we are going through the affected areas and doing mobile feeding for the families there.
Okay, well said. Now, it is important to understand that just looking at the estimates, Washington, where we're first going, maybe as many as 400 homes that were destroyed or damaged severely. With respect to Diamond and Coal City, many homes as well. Same way with Gifford, a town in Champaign County, many homes, perhaps half the town, and the businesses were affected. In Brookport, trailer park completely uprooted, and other homes as well. And in New Minden, which is in Washington County, about 10 homes. So whatever the damage is, we want to make sure we carefully assess it and calculate it and make sure that we take good care of the people. That's our job right now. Any questions?
There's been a wide-ranging estimates on number of injuries. What's the best total right now?
Well, I'll have John talk about that a little bit. Why don't you go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have right now, our first stop is going to be in Washington. As of this morning, the estimate was 120 total injuries. 37 of them were treated at St. Francis Hospital in Peoria. 7 of those who were treated had traumatic injuries. So there are still some that are being kept at the hospital overnight and again into today. So about 120 injuries there. Some of the other injury reports are a little bit spotty right now, but combined for the rest of the communities, we're looking at below triple digits for those communities. So hopefully we won't see those numbers rise, but based on the nature of where the tornado struck and being in small towns, some folks had to be transported for medical care to other towns, so it's difficult to track the exact number. But for the case of Washington, about 120 total injuries.
Overall, 150? I mean, what kind of rough number are you looking
Yeah, between 150 and 200 total. So those numbers will get additional definition as we go throughout the day, but that's what we're looking at right now.
You had mentioned that search and rescue efforts were dampened by the darkness. Are there a large number of people still unaccounted for?
What we don't have is 100% accountability. We don't have specific missing persons that we're trying to find at this point because it's hard to tell if people were out of town or if they were at home at the time when things happened. So right now in Washington, there's one field that still needs to be searched that's littered with a significant amount of debris. And as you can imagine, in some instances, we found people that are far flung from where they actually started from. So we have one more field to search in Washington, and at that point, we should be comfortable being able to say that we have 100% accountability.
Governor, can you tell us who else you've heard from as far as perhaps the White House, senators, the mayor, anyone who's offered help?
Well, I think we have heard from Deval Patrick. He is a good friend, and as you know, Massachusetts went through an ordeal earlier this year, and I was told that President or Vice President Biden would be calling today. But our focus right now is we want to definitely work with our federal government. We have a very good relationship with the local administrator of FEMA here in Midwest, and that's Andrew Velasquez, who was John's predecessor. So we've worked together in previous situations, floods, and definitely the tornado that occurred in Harrisburg, and we will work with the federal government and local government and all government to make sure that we recover from this. It is very, very important that we keep our spirits up. I was so impressed. I was reading an article about a little boy in Washington, Illinois. He was only 6 years old. His name was Brevin Hunter, and he heard the sirens, and he told his mother, we better get to the basement. At first she was saying, well, we'll do it a little later. He insisted. He said, when we're in school, we are told when we hear the sirens, get to safety. And I think Brevin was a good example of many people in Illinois who help their neighbors, help their family get to safety. It is very important when you have a dangerous situation with multiple tornadoes cutting across our state that we work together, and it was impressive to see how many folks ahead of time got their friends, neighbors, family to safety, and then after the damage came together and helped dig out.
Any danger Illinois, like Harrisburg, will miss the federal disaster declaration on technicalities?
Well, it was very close in Harrisburg. I think that underlines the importance of assessment, full assessment of all damage. It's pretty clear here that in the events of yesterday, there were places, multiple places in Illinois that were hard hit. I declared 7 counties, state disaster areas today. I think it's important that everyone in each and every one of those counties and communities that were affected get all the information necessary so we can put our best foot forward to get federal relief.
Can you go over where the fatalities are? Can you go over where the 6 fatalities?
There was one person who lost their life in Washington, Illinois, which is in Tazewell County. Then there were 3 people who were killed in Brookport in Massac County, that's in deep southern Illinois. Then there were 2 people who were killed in New Minden, which is in Washington County. Washington County is pretty close to St. Louis area, St. Louis metropolitan area. It's on the Metro East side there. So that would be the total.
Governor, Illinois was hoping to be a good neighbor to those suffering from the typhoon in the Philippines. Does the situation we have here at home threaten that at all?
No, it doesn't. We have ample assets. We have a great National Guard. Some of our National Guard actually were involved yesterday, along with our state police. We have the best state police force in the whole country, as far as I'm concerned. And we can help not only our own families in Illinois, but those who are affected by the typhoon in the Philippines. It was quite inspiring to see all the people coming together last week to, really help their neighbor.
Is there a possibility, given the injuries, that the death toll could go up at this point?
I really don't know. I think it is important what John said, that we have full search and rescue across the areas that have been affected. That's really what you do on the immediate situation. You let the first responders come in. I think we should salute all the first responders. They worked over and over again to exhaustion to carry out their duties. Want to continue that today. We have lots and lots of our Illinois Department of Transportation crews out removing debris. It's quite impressive. A number of roads were affected yesterday, but the debris has been removed and the roads are clear. We do have a few that are still needing to be cleared up, and we'll get that done today.
So Governor, what is your mission then today as you visit these places?
Well, I have in the past, after natural disasters, once the initial work has been done by the first responders, it's important to go to the communities and to visit with the families and the businesses and the local folks, the mayors and so on. We're in this together. We're a team. We've got to work together to recover, and we will. We are the people of Illinois, good and true. We never give up. We never surrender, and we will prevail. It was very, I think for everyone, seeing that weather yesterday was very frightening. And it's important that we summon our courage and summon our will to help our neighbor get back on their feet.
Thanks, guys.
Okay? Thanks a lot.